Welcome to the Depth Perception Podcast.
We go in depth about the perceptions and misconceptions of optometry,
which includes the business of optometry,
social issues within optometry,
and life as an optometry student.
Coming straight from Dr. Jasdeep Singh Soni,
Dr. Nadia Afghami,
Dr. Douglas Akiti,
and Svetlana Nunez. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Depth Perception Podcast. It's just three of us today. We don't have Doug, which starting off this podcast feels weird because he's always saying hello. But anyways, I'm going to start it off. And today what we're going to talk about is how to find your dream job. We have two successful optometrists here and your fourth-year student who is figuring out life. So let's ask them questions on how to find a dream job. Guys, what would you say is the most important thing when looking for a job? And then we'll just hit on this surface level.
What is the most important thing? I think that's obviously subjective, right? Everybody has different things that are important to them. And I think a lot of people prioritize location. And I understand that based on family or based on where you went to school or based on where you're comfortable. But I feel like that's something that's like overvalued, to be honest with you. I think how you're going to practice, like practicing the way you want to, and income are like two important things that could be more valued based on what I think people truly want. But again, what do you think, Nadia, as someone who also practices?
I agree. I think it's subjective. I think for some people, it's important to be in their communities. I think like giving back to your communities is important. But I think it's important to find where you're a good fit, because sometimes, it might seem like the ideal location or it might seem like the ideal money, but the practice, just like you go home every day and you feel tired or exhausted or like frustrated. And like, I think that the most important thing is to find somewhere where like you get along with your staff and you're happy and you like your patients. And I think overall that makes you a better doctor, and it just drives you to drive the practice more. And yeah,
so you're kind of hitting on like company culture.
Yeah.
I think the reason I said like how you practice and like money is because like as a recruiter for I Spy Talent, like I always see like these posts for like people offering jobs for like $400 a day, $450 a day to work in LA or the Bay, and it makes me nauseous when I see doctors taking rates like that, when I know there's rates out there for businesses that I'm helping where they can offer $800, $900, $1,000, if not $1,200 a day to work, which is like 3 times the amount. So to me, it just blows my mind when I see people taking such low numbers to work. But maybe that's important to them. I don't know. What are your all thoughts on like that?
Yeah, I think it just depends on like your motivation behind things, like if you really are trying to like crash out your student loans really quickly, like obviously, taking the higher paying job will help you in the long run. Or if people have more mortgages or aren't married, or, they're kind of on their own, or California is expensive in general, like rent's high, or, if you want to like invest, I think it's just what's motivating you, and whatever like that is aligned for you, then I think that'll make you gravitate towards like a certain job.
What do you think as a student SV? Like, what are your thoughts on like going into like the job market or graduating and thinking about jobs? Like, what do you think is important to you, and what you're hearing with us now?
Well, first being from Southern California and then coming to school in Northern California. If you're not from California, it probably sounds like the same thing. It's all California, but the locations are very different and have different atmospheres, community. The vibe in general is completely different. So I think that it's both locations are very, what's the word with there's a lot of optometrists around? Saturated. Yeah. So the field is very saturated, and I've always heard if you want to make money and pay off your student loans, you got to go to Central California. And Central California is usually where people don't want to be, because the major cities, San Diego, LA, San Francisco, is not there. So being a fourth year now, I am more open to go to a location where, okay, I don't have the city there, right? It's not going to be the most popular place. Downtown is not going to be downtown, right? But it's at a cost, because I'll be able to pay off my student loans. So I think that's where I'm at. That's what I think of. I think we're hitting a lot on money when it comes to jobs. And I think that money is important, but maybe we should backtrack on talking about like other values, like how we want to practice and how to choose a practice. Because there's private practice, corporate, community health, academia. Like where do you guys practice? And then how did you choose that practice? And you can even talk about maybe your past, like where you used to work and then why you don't work there anymore in a, professional way. But
No,
yeah.
yeah, that's a great point, SV. Like, it's not just all about the money. And I think what you're hitting on there is like supply and demand, right? So like where there's a lot of people, businesses are going to offer a lower amount because they can get away with that, right? Whereas other places, they can't do that. And I think there's so many other values like you're mentioning, right? We were talking about income, flexibility of your schedule, how many patients you're seeing, where you can pay off your loans, where can you teach, where can you do research, what is the company culture, as Nadia was saying. So those things are all important. It's not just about the money. And so for me, I worked in Bakersfield, which is a little bit north of Los Angeles, about 2.5 hours, which is like a more rural area. And I worked in an ODMD practice. And at the time, working in an ODMD practice was important to me because I wanted to do a residency without getting paid like a resident. And I did that, and I'm glad because now wherever I go, it's a piece of cake. But ultimately, that just didn't lead me to what is my why, what are my goals. And so I think that is why I decided to practice at a Costco afterwards, which allowed me to see high volume, get higher returns. It gives me time to work on my other optometry endeavors and gives me the time and ability to do that because of the incomes. Goals also change too, right? Depending on where you are in your career. What about you, Nadia? Where do you practice, and kind of what was your why in choosing some of those roles?
It chose me, I guess. So I was in private practice before in Florida, and then when I moved, it just kind of like happened that Dr. Idris knew somebody, like one of my connections just knew somebody that was trying to open a practice here, and then it was just like a deal I couldn't refuse. I think that I was like, I want to do private practice because I was used to it, but now it's like it's kind of been nice change because here like the scope of practice for me right now is low because I don't have what's called my OPAC, so I can't like prescribe yet and that kind of thing. So I can really just only do refractions anyway. So now that I work in like corporate, just like it's like, okay, well, what was I can't even practice anywhere else. So it's nice that this job kind of happened. But I think both, I mean, like, it's not like I still have to know what's going on so that I know when to refer, just because I don't do the extra testing or whatever, I still have to know what to send for. So I think that it doesn't matter because I don't think that like the mode of practice made me a different kind of doctor. I think that yeah, in private practice there's a lot more going on, so there's a lot more like growing, I guess, in a way, but that doesn't mean you can't grow. It just depends on your personality and what you put into it. And did that even answer the question?
No. Okay, so you
All right.
practice in Florida. Why did you go
I
there?
answered.
Okay, you did kind of answer, but then what about after that? And like, why? Keep
What do you
going.
mean?
Okay, where are you practicing now?
Yeah, at a Lens Crafters. It's
And
corporate.
why?
Because it found me. The job found me.
Okay.
I
I
said
think,
that, right?
yeah, I
Okay.
understood it.
Thank you.
I apparently did not, but I appreciate you reiterating for me to
Okay,
understand it.
perfect. Svet's here for me. She's translating.
I
Okay,
guess
so Nadia, I can give a summary of Nadia. Nadia said that, she moved to a different state and she doesn't have OPAC, which I don't know what that is, so you should explain that in a little bit. But she doesn't have OPAC, so now she can only really do refraction. But anyway, she's at a job where it's like corporate, and she kind of does just refraction anyways. So it's all good. That's
I
my summary.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's about finding what is your reason, right? I think one thing that gets me fired about this is, like I was saying in the beginning, I think a lot of people are like skewed, or like they see what other people are doing, or they take what school tells them and then they follow it. Like, I think it's about finding like what is your why, what is the most important thing to you. So I want you to sit down and just write like what are 3 things that are important to you the most, right? Without even thinking about where this job lands you or what it lands you. Is it income? Is it flexibility with your schedule? Is it location? Is it what specialty you're doing? Is it what type of practice you're working in? Is it paying off your loans? Is it saving for retirement? Is it starting a business? Is it doing research? Is it teaching? Is it coaching? Is it being a speaker? Is it getting good benefits? Is it work-life balance? Is it company culture? I really want you to hear those, rewind this if you need to, sit down and list 3, and then make decisions based off that. Like, what are your goals? What are your values? What are most important to you? Don't just pick something because like in school they teach you that. I remember in school I thought corporate was terrible, and yet I'm here and I'm happy, right? Like, not that it's for everybody. You just gotta fit like what finds you, and sometimes you gotta try it, honestly. I think that's the best way to learn, right? Like tying different roles and moonlighting. Do you moonlight, Nadia?
No.
Have you ever filled in different offices? Okay.
No, JB. I work enough. I work full time. I work 5 days a week already. That's enough. To I have so much going on in my new life and my new roles that I feel like I have 7 jobs as it is. So no, I haven't. In fact, my contract is non-compete, so I don't have the opportunity, in fact, to moonlight.
Wait, we have to define things. I still don't know what OPAC is and what is non-compete.
So in Nevada, OPAC is like the special certification that you need that says like you've shadowed an ophthalmologist for 40 hours in order to be able to like prescribe or dilate or do any of that stuff. So
you
I
can't dilate.
haven't done that yet, but soon to be coming. But yeah, it's crazy because at first I was like, yeah, I'll just give you a steroid, blah, blah, blah. Like, I dilate people. And apparently I didn't do that for anyone listening out there. I didn't do any of that, but I can't anyway.
That's wild. Every state is so different.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A non-compete is essentially saying you cannot work with some sort of business that competes with the one that you're doing, especially when you agree to it when it's put in writing. So an example of a non-compete is you cannot work at a business that's 15 miles away. That is an example of a non-compete. Now, you got to keep up with your states because some states don't even have the ability to do non-competes anymore. So I would keep that in mind. Just Google, does my state have non-compete? But yeah, if your state does have that's unfortunate, but not all states do have that kind of stuff, which is I'm thankful for.
Okay.
All learning stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think about as a student? Like, what are your impressions and thoughts about like what do you hear people fourth years saying
about
jobs or like what's important to them? Or I know you mentioned like you're willing to be uncomfortable and go to spots maybe people are not willing to do and advance your career. What do you think generally people are doing? They're like, hey, I need to go to a residency, or hey, I just need to stay in private practice, or corporate's bad, or I need to, what do you think the general impressions are of like people who are graduating nowadays?
Yeah. Well, I think I agreed earlier when you guys talked about corporate and how corporate is quote unquote bad.
Corporate's the evil empire, the Death Star. They're trying to big madness.
Yeah, like I feel like you hear that at school that corporate is bad because it's not like medical and it's just refraction only. And then I think maybe the general consensus at my school, and I don't know why, maybe it's just like my school pushing more like a medical optometry. Our school has gotten really close to like UCSF too, and lots of our attendings are going to UCSF. And at our UCSF rotations, we're not even doing refractions. We're just doing like medical exams. And if you want a refraction, we don't accept vision insurance, so then you have to pay out of pocket for your refraction. And of course, that's like one clinic, but like, being at that clinic and being like, okay, I'm an optometrist, I know how to refract people, but now I'm not going to do it. It's kind of interesting.
But not all corporate's the same. So like, just to jump in on that, like it's not, because not all private practice is the same. Like not all private practices all like do the same things. Like my private practice did ortho K and sclerals and that kind of thing, but that's not like normal for like a private practice, like I think that it just depends on the private practice or the corporate.
True. That's true. And I feel like in school though, you don't have that mentality just yet because you don't really have much like I guess you do have private practice rotations, but I think at my school it's heavily VA rotations. So a lot of us have just like ocular disease at the VA, which is like a whole comprehensive exam. I don't know. Like you said, school and real world don't really align.
I think real world is also like there's a lot of these opportunities in order to see an optometrist, patients want a refraction done. So like it's hard to just say like, hey, it would be great if everybody was a medical doctor and just not that we're not medical doctors, right? I mean, refraction you could argue is a medical exam to some extent, right? I think it's hard. Like, there's not going to be a world where all optometrists are not refracting. Like at the end of the day, that is what people identify as, and they come to our offices for. And then of course they can have other stuff too. So I think it's just like I don't want to say stigma, but like I think it's also there's nothing wrong with refracting too, and saying if that's what your comfort zone is or that's how you want to practice. Like we are primary care visits, so like we could still check patients who are healthy and help them and guide them to the right direction if they need to. I think it just depends how you want to practice. I think in school they want to encourage you doing medical optometry because they want us to be to our fullest potential, right? They want us to do, for example, in California, they want us to do lasers and stuff like that. So if we're doing medical exams, of course, we're going to be pushing for more of this kind of stuff. But I think both are important. Like both have their place. Like optometrists should still be doing refractions or contact lens exams, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to different things. We talked a little bit about location, we talked a little bit about money. Going on the money end, I guess let's talk about negotiations. What would you guys say? You guys have had different jobs. It's like your top advice for negotiating, and maybe things that as a fourth year I wouldn't think about negotiating for my first job, but you guys would be like, I've done this, you should negotiate for this. Go ahead, Nadia.
Okay. I think for me, it was important to like have a retirement plan, like some either a 401k or like an IRA contribution. Often it wasn't like either included or mentioned in some of the contracts. Like I've had to like fight for vacation time because I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna. They were like, oh, it's 5 days for the whole year. And I was like, well, I'll take 5 days, but then I'll at least let me accrue some so that while I'm working, I can like gain more. What else have I negotiated for? I mean, obviously, if you like value something like time off, then ask for more of it. If you value like salary, say why you're worth it, I guess, because they're always going to like give you like a base. And if you think, oh, I'm worth more than that, then give them a list of reasons why. Like, be like, hey, this is how I can grow your practice. This is the reasons why I'm worth it. Like, this is what I'm bringing to the table that makes this amount. Like, obviously, don't give them like some outrageous amount, but make it like negotiable. Like, so if they're like, oh, if it's not this, then this, and then you're like, okay, meet in the middle kind of.
You hit on some great things there. I think, truthfully, anything seems negotiable no matter what they start off with. One thing I never do when it's negotiating, whether it's me as a OD working for someone or it's helping someone with finding a job or helping with someone hiring, I never throw out a number first. I always want to hear what the business has to say. So I'd recommend hear what they have to say so you have an idea of like what they think is a realistic number, but just know whether they offer anything on there, it's all negotiable, right? And you can ask for anything, but if you got to do it respectfully, like Nadia was saying, if you ask for $50,000 more, that comes off as disrespectful, not being understanding of their like causes and concern of the business. But if you ask for something, let's say you get $150,000 offer, you ask for 10 or 20 more, that's more realistic, right? So how do you go about that? I would say always start off by having like body language of being camaraderie and being like, hey, I want to take this job. So let's say, hey, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for this offer. It's really kind of you that you would respect me enough to want to even give this offer. Say something flattering and then ask for your things that you want to request. I'd like to request $10,000 more for a salary. I'd like to request this sign-on bonus. I'd like to request to only have to go to one location for this office. I'd like to request 5 days PTO. And I'm not saying request all these single things, but request what you would like. And then again, at the end, say, hey, look, I'm really looking forward to working with you. These are things that would really help me with us being able to work together. Again, this whole time I'm having the body language like I want to be part of your team. Like, can you help me get there and help them, motivate them? But those are the things you should look for, whether it's salary, sign-on bonus, location, exit clauses, benefits like 401k, as Nadia said, medical insurance, PTO. Those are all things that are negotiable. Just got to have the right energy when you're asking for it.
And so when you guys are negotiating, is this something that's like, okay, I do my interview, maybe it's multiple interviews, right, for a practice, and then I get called back and I'm given a contract, or I get emailed a contract and we're over the phone or something? Do you say, hey, give me some time, I'm going to review this, and you go negotiate later, negotiate on the spot? What do you guys think?
I've always been like emailed my offers, I guess. Like I'm always like, send me the offer and I'll look over it. And then I'll have them like, I'll be like, oh, I need to discuss this with like my financial coordinator or, my mentor or whoever. And then like respond back with a well thought out email. Maybe from ChatGPT, I don't know, but whatever you guys get it from.
Yo, we live in the AI generation. You got to utilize it.
True.
Like make this sound more professional.
Make it sound more negotiable.
Yeah. You just ask chat like, hey chat, I feel like I should be get paid more. What is the average? It'll tell you everything. And love chat. Chat, if you're listening.
Chat's always listening.
Chat kind of is. Chat gets scary sometimes.
That's good advice. I agreed with Nadia. A lot of times things are electronic. We live in the electronic age, especially after COVID. Whether it's in person or electronic, though, never feel rushed to answer the question. You're allowed to say, hey, I have to consult my family. I have to think about this. I would say don't feel on the spot to agree to something. You don't want to be stuck in something, right? And then I would also say, take some time to think about it, and then feel free to continue that dialogue, whether it's in person, text, or email. Don't feel pressured.
We talked about locations. We hit a little bit on like values, what you should value, different practices, negotiating. Is there any other things that you guys would want to mention when it comes to finding your dream job that we haven't hit already?
I would say, I mean, the first thing that I mentioned was super important to me. Like, I feel like people need to prioritize truly what's important to them, and if you can do that by listing on a paper and then finding jobs based on that, that would be great. But I think also the second thing is just trial and error. Like, even though we have all these ideas of what we want, what we don't want, sometimes you got to work in an office to try it. Maybe shadowing before you take the job is a good idea. Maybe working there per diem before you take the job is a good idea. And just know that maybe you just got to try it and then know you don't like it after a year. And I realized, look, I agreed to a year contract. I followed it. How can anybody be mad at that? And I just got to find something else. So just don't be afraid to learn on the job. That's what I would say. What about you, Nadia?
Sometimes jobs are stepping stones to the next job. Like, so, my first job, even though I hated it, I mean, I learned a lot, right? And then I moved on to my second job. And so then I could grow more. But I think after being at that first job, I knew more, because your first job out of school, how do you know what you're looking for, really? Right? Like, you're just excited, you're ready to practice. And then after that, you're like, wow, this is what I didn't like. I never thought of how many patients do I want to see a day? And I never thought of hey, what equipment do I absolutely feel like is non-negotiable in the office? Or what kind of hours are the best? Or is the location matter even or not, So I think that you just learn as you go, kind of what JD said, right? But don't be afraid to make mistakes and take the wrong job sometimes, because you'll learn from it and then you'll grow from it. And then you never know what kind of connections that you are going to make from the next job.
I like that. I think that's all really good advice. I also didn't realize, tell me why I was like, oh, I have to do my new job for a year. I can't sign up for 6 months. I'm stuck there for a year, even though a year goes by fast. Where do you guys recommend that I find jobs? How do I find jobs?
I got you. I
How
would
do
say, look, it's all about networking, right? So how you go about that networking can be done in many forms of fashion. Number one, I think networking on your own, whether it's in person or virtual, whether it's LinkedIn, going to conferences, going to local society meetings, talking to reps, those are all very helpful things that you can do on your own. I also think talking to recruiters like yours truly for I Spy Talent, which is Deep Sing Sony here, I will help you find your job, especially if you're in the West Coast. But honestly, it's about networking, getting started. Whether you're a student or a doctor right now, make a LinkedIn, post something once every 3 months at least, message people who are in your community and add them. And honestly, like I said, these people who are reps, they know a lot of information. And as a recruiter in OD, I can help you myself. So those are easy ideas that I have for you right there.
I like that. Any last minute words for us?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I mean, I want to contact JD for my next job.
We'll do a special, hey, if you heard us from the pod and you're looking for a job, especially in California or the West Coast, I'm helping someone in Idaho. We'll give you a special ability to special bonus or something from the pod here. We'll help you with negotiating your contract. We'll do a review with you, all of us. So we're here to help you, especially from the pod.
We really are. So if you contact JD because you heard this podcast, let us know and let him know. Okay, guys, I think we're done.
Should we talk about some specific jobs and what's out there?
Sure. Throw them out there, JD.
All right. So
I think this is your dream job, contact JD. He's going to list them.
Right now I'm helping 14 businesses with hiring, especially in California. One of them is in Idaho, but they're all varied and vast. And that was my goal, because as an OD, I want to provide you all with opportunities that match you, right? So I have opportunities, whether it's corporate, working in a high-paced corporate environment like Costco, where you see a lot of patients, you can make a lot, you can make rates about $800 a day for just filling in. But I have a lot that are even working with ODMD practices, where if you can be in LA and you can still make $550 to $750 a day working for a great ODMD setting. I can even have some in a remote area where you can bonus up to $1,200 a day, but it's anywhere from $800 and $1,200 depending on how many patients you're willing to see. And then I have a bunch in places like Fresno, even one in Santa Barbara, which is very unique, where it's kind of like you kind of hustle and eat what you kill kind of situation. So you can get up to $800, $1,000 a day. So if you want a more corporate, fast-paced environment, I have that. If you want to be in an ODMD place, I have that. If you want guaranteed salary or if you want bonus structures, I really have a vast different network, especially here in California. And I actually have one in Idaho that I'm helping for too. So if you're looking for a job in Idaho or in California, message the pod. We're here to help you.
I like that. I know we're ending, but I don't know what a bonus structure is. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these jobs want you to be motivated to see more and more patients. Truly, if the doctor doesn't see more and more patients, the business is not going to make money. You know, the technician is not going to be able to work up a patient. No one's going to be able to be checked in. No one's going to be able to sell an optical. So the doctor really is the engine for the business, in my opinion. And so these businesses will basically say, hey, we're going to give you more money on top of your salary if you see and produce more for the clinic. Every clinic is different about it. So some of these clinics, for example, I know a business ODMD practice. He's saying, "Hey, I will offer you 6% of whatever your gross is on top of whatever you make." Right. So let's say you bring in, I don't know, $500,000 over the year over everything that you did, right, for your exams. He's saying he's going to offer you 6% of that money. So what does that do, right? It incentivizes USV to say, "Hey, I'm going to see more patients because I get 6% of that," which adds up over time. Other clinics will have based on how many patients you're seeing, or how much the optical is bringing in, or there's hundreds and different of models, but essentially it's just something to make you incentivized to work harder.
Thank you for explaining that. They don't explain that at school. Like they kind of bring it up, but you really don't know what it means.
They don't, and I mean, in academia, I'm not sure how much they have bonus structures, but also, yeah, these things are just not talked about when we're talking about like jobs and stuff. But it's so crucial. Like this kind of concept can make you $10,000-$20,000 more for your paycheck there.
So this is why I need a recruiter, right?
That's right. I got you.
Okay, guys. I think we're done with this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one.